Did you know Wangari Maathai was not only a green queen but also a legendary pace setter in every single thing she ventured in? Wangari Maathai was born on the 1st of April 1940 in the village of Ihide, Nyeri district in the central highlands of the colony of Kenya. Around 1943, Maathai's family relocated to a white-owned farm in the Rift Valley near Nakuru where her father had found work. Late in 1947, she returned to Ihide with her mother as two of her brothers were attending primary school in the village and there was no schooling available on the farm where her father worked. Shortly afterward, at the age of 8 years, she joined her brothers at Ihide Primary School. As the end of East African colonialism approached, Kenyan politicians such as Tom Mboya were proposing ways to make education in Western nations available to promising students. John F. Kennedy, then a United States Senator, agreed to fund such a program through the Joseph P. Kennedy Jr. Foundation, initiating what became known as the Kennedy Airlift or Airlift Africa. Maathai became one of some 300 Kenyans selected to study in the United States in September of 1960. After a 2-month job search, Professor Reinhold Hoffmann from the University of Gießen in Germany offered her a job as a research assistant in the microanatomy section of the newly established Department of Veterinary Anatomy in the School of Veterinary Medicine at the University College of Nairobi. In April 1966, she met Mwangi Maathai, another Kenyan who had studied in America, who would later become her husband. She also rented a small shop in the city and established a general store at which her sisters worked. In 1967, at the urging of Professor Hoffmann, she traveled to the University of Gießen in Germany to pursue a doctorate. She studied both at Gießen and the University of Munich. In the spring of 1969, she returned to Nairobi to continue her studies at the University College of Nairobi as an assistant lecturer. In May, she and Mwangi Maathai married. Later that year, she became expectant with her first child and her husband campaigned for a seat in parliament, narrowly losing. Upon returning to Kenya, Maathai dropped her phone name, preferring to be known by her birth name, Wangari Maathai. She arrived at the university to start her new job. Now you know a twinge of Maathai's background from our previous episode, but did you know Wangari Maathai continued to teach at Nairobi, becoming a senior lecturer in anatomy in 1975, chair of the Department of Veterinary Anatomy in 1976, and associate professor in 1977, becoming the first woman in Nairobi appointed to any of these positions? Now you might think that's it, but I suggest a seat because that's just the tip. Now, during this time, she campaigned for equal benefits for the women working on the staff of the university, going so far as trying to turn the Academic Staff Association into a union to negotiate for benefits. In addition to her work at the University of Nairobi, Maathai became involved in several civic organizations in the early 1970s. She was also a member of the Kenya Association of University Women. Following the establishment of the University Liaison Center in 1974, Maathai was asked to be a member of the local board, eventually becoming board chair. The Environment Liaison Center worked to promote the participation of non-governmental organizations in the work of the United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, whose headquarters was established in Nairobi following the United Nations Conference on the Human Environment held in Stockholm in 1972. Maathai also joined the National Council of Women of Kenya, NCWK. Through her work at these various volunteer associations, it became evident to Maathai that the root of most of Kenya's problems was environmental degradation. In 1974, Maathai's family expanded and her husband campaigned again for a seat in parliament, hoping to represent the Lang'ata constituency, and won. During his campaign, he had promised to find jobs to limit the rising unemployment in Kenya. These promises led Maathai to connect her ideas of environment restoration to providing jobs for the unemployed and led to the founding of EnviroCare Limited, a business that involved the planting of trees to conserve the environment, involving ordinary people in the process. This led to the planting of her first tree nursery, co-located with the government tree nursery in Karura Forest. EnviroCare ran into multiple problems, primarily dealing with funding, and ultimately failed. However, through conversations concerning EnviroCare and her work at the Environment Liaison Center, UNEP made it possible to send Maathai to the first UN conference on human settlements known as Habitat 1 in June 1976. In 1977, Maathai spoke to the NCWK concerning her attendance at Habitat 1. She proposed further tree planting, which the council supported. On June 5th of 1977, marking World Environment Day, the NCWK marched in a procession from Kenyatta International Conference Center in downtown Nairobi to Kamkunji Park on the outskirts of the city, where they planted 7 trees in honor of historical community leaders. This was the first event of the Green Belt movement. Maathai encouraged the women of Kenya to plant tree nurseries throughout the country, searching nearby forests for seeds to grow trees native to the area. She agreed to pay the women a small stipend fee for each seedling, which was later planted elsewhere. In her 2010 book, Replenishing the Earth, Spiritual Values for Healing Ourselves and the World, she explicitly engages with religious traditions, including the indigenous Kikuyu religion and Christianity, mobilizing them as resources for environmental thinking and activism. When Maathai was in high school, she converted to Catholicism and was involved with the Legion of Mary, whose members attempted to serve God by serving fellow human beings. This shielded her from the then ongoing Mau Mau rebellion. Maathai and her husband Wangari Maathai separated in 1977. After a lengthy separation, Mwangi filed for divorce in 1979. He was said to have believed that Wangari was quote unquote too strong minded for a woman and that he was quote unquote unable to control her. In addition to naming her as cruel in court findings, he publicly accused her of adultery with another member of parliament, which in turn was thought to be the cause of his high blood pressure, and the judge ruled in Mwangi's favor. Shortly after the trial, in an interview with Viva magazine, Maathai referred to the judge as either incompetent or corrupt. The interview later led the judge to charge Maathai with contempt of court. She was found guilty and sentenced to 6 months in jail. After 3 days in Langata Women's Prison in Nairobi, her lawyer formulated a statement that the court found sufficient for her release. Shortly after the divorce, her former husband sent a letter via his lawyer demanding that Maathai drop his surname. Maathai chose to iconically add an extra A to the name instead of changing it. In 1979, Maathai ran for the position of chairperson of the NCWK. She lost this election by 3 votes but was chosen to be the vice chairman of the organization. The following year, Maathai again ran for chairmanship and again was opposed, she believes, by the government. When it became apparent that Maathai was going to win the election, Maendeleo ya Wanawake, a member organization which represented a majority of Kenya's rural women and whose leader was close to the then President Arap Moi, withdrew from the NCWK. Maathai was then elected chairman unopposed. However, Maendeleo ya Wanawake came to receive a majority of the financial support for women's programs in the country, and NCWK was left virtually bankrupt. Future funding was more difficult to come by, but the NCWK survived by increasing its focus on the environment and making its presence and work known. Maathai continued to be re-elected to serve as the chairman of the organization every year until she retired from the position in 1987. She lost the elections by 3 votes but was overwhelmingly but was overwhelmed.
I'm going out. I'm going.
Over. Overwhelm.
A few moments later.
Overwhelm. Oh. Overwhelmingly. Oh, you cannot be in university and not know how to say overwhelmingly.
Stop it. Get some help.
Overwhelming.
I wonder.
Got him! Got him!